now. I know how to work better as a team. I wish that I had this training before I became a supervisor. I now know how to be a better leader. I know how now to decrease or increase resiliency in the organization. Because there's a lot of things that we go through in the military. It's suicide rates and just a lot of things that we are expected to do with excellence. And training is very important.
I think complementing what you're saying about the importance of leaders having a better kind of self-awareness and self-understanding, equally as important is having a good understanding of your team's strengths and weaknesses and capabilities, and developing your team. So it just broadly in terms of what's needed to be an effective leader in this setting or in the settings I've worked in. The leader needs to be communicating and putting out there direction and a vision, but the projects are always too big for the leader to really wrap their arms around. So being able to assemble a group of people, your team, however big that is, that can help the organization get where they need to go, and that involves the leader choosing the right people. In the military, oftentimes you don't get to choose your people. They're there. You don't get to hire them. They get assigned there. And so if you can choose your people, great. If you can't, then figuring out where they're best going to fit, and then developing their capacity to lead. And I think a piece of forming your team then in terms of taking a look at what diversities you can bring into your team so that you have a wider range of strengths to build from. But that, building your team, knowing your strengths and people who are going to help you and the organization get where you need to go is a really important piece of successful leadership, building that capacity.
When you think of dimensions of diversity, and I would say more you personally, how do your own dimensions of diversity influence your leadership?
You mean interpersonally? Yeah.
Or does it?
It does.
Well,
definitely.
it does whether you're aware of it or not.
Yes,
That's why she does the class.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but not
Okay.
for others, but
Right.
Your story influence your leadership.
My story is from a cultural standpoint. I was expected to be a wife. At birth, my mother and father already selected my husband, who was from the Philippines, and I was, after I graduated from college or high school, marry this guy, have kids, and live happily ever after. And I didn't know what my fate was going to be when I told my parents I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy. So dealing with those cultural issues were difficult. So when you come into the workplace to get a degree or to get the job done is relatively easy. Because when you're dealing with home and family and cultural, religious issues, it's so hard to break those solid foundations. But when you go into the workplace, it's very easy. And when you think about it, it's about problem solving. So when I look at my contributions, I would rather deal with work issues. It's fun for me, it's challenging compared to my home issues. So that's my perspective. And then sometimes when I think of other Asian backgrounds, they deal with life and death issues as well. So I had it very easy. I've heard of immigration issues and trying to bring families being torn apart. So I was very, very blessed, with my challenges in being able to problem solve and come up with issues and successes in the workplace. So that's my perspective.
What about the three of you?
Well, I'll say I don't know how to answer the question. I really don't. When I joined the Foreign Service, if we're talking about dimensions of diversity, me being gay, when I joined the Foreign Service, I didn't know I was gay. I was one of those involved in student politics, editorial page editor of the high school and the college paper. I cared about issues passionately. I was a workaholic. I studied all the time. I wanted to have straight A, not A's, but A pluses, that kind of thing. And so when I joined the Foreign Service, I was part of that same climate I was trying to describe earlier, where it's issue focused and it's like elbowing and shouldering your way up to the top with your ideas and the presentation of those ideas and the communication skills of getting those ideas accepted and turned into policy. I don't know that when I started to deal with the why am I not dating issue, it's not because I'm professional, it's because, well, I'm not interested in dating women, and I started dealing with that. I don't know that necessarily impacted my style in the State Department. It may have opened me up to listening more for people who don't say much. Maybe. I don't know. You're the psychologist. You tell me.
My
We'll put
question
you
is,
over there later.
at what level did you realize that you were gay?
It was like the late 80s, and I started in the early 80s. I started in 81, September of 81. So I was mid-grade. I wasn't in the senior foreign service yet. But I already had an established reputation in the department. People knew me as a hard worker and someone you could turn to, and I was again presenting ideas and pushing on policies, and that's the climate you operate in a place like Washington.
So 5-10 years after being gay, do you see a difference in your leadership?
I think as I moved up the chain into positions of authority, deputy director of an office or director, that kind of positional authority, then I became more attuned to the need to try to pull people out of their shells. Because there are a lot of Foreign Service officers who are hard charging, and there's some who get pushed aside. And the some that get pushed aside may be pushed aside for reasons related to diversity. There are some that are pushed aside may be pushed aside because they're not presenting their ideas well. Some that are pushed aside are perhaps pushed aside because they're not presenting their ideas at all. So I became more attuned in the office of trying to get people to listen.
They don't like their ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the other thing.
Exactly. So I became more attuned to trying to pull people out and say, what do you think? I don't know that was necessarily related to the fact that I had come to an understanding of myself as being gay, and knowing that people very often live a double life in Washington on that issue because they're not comfortable being out. But I would say that even now in the State Department, there's not the proper attention to diversity issues. I mean, it sounds like I wish I could have been in the Air Force based on what you're saying, because there's more, or at least now under your leadership and the leadership of the organization, there's more being attuned to the issues than perhaps I see at State Department. State Department tends to do, like you said earlier, that if they the diversity courses that State Department teaches are separate from leadership courses. They're in the leadership school, and when I was there, I tried to bring those two together more. But the diversity courses were created because there was a class action suit by African American Foreign Service personnel saying, we're not getting the promotions, we're not getting the visibility. So the result was, okay, let's create a course and let's train everybody. And so people go to the diversity courses because they have to. It's required at 3 different levels of the career.
There's no accountability.
And they just
that's
go
what
to
I call
that.
it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you
The
check
same
the
with us.
box, and okay, he's going to be gone for the next 2 weeks. Okay, whatever. Well, who's going to cover?
Yeah.
The focus is on who's going to cover, not what did you learn.
Fascinating. Yeah. What about the two of you?
Well, I think, and I don't know if this will directly answer the question, but when I think about my diversities and how that's affected my leadership experience, one of the things that comes to mind is as a woman and as an emerging leader within the uniformed services, the DoD and the PHS, the issue of the gender imbalance and that there are lots more men and many more male leaders has been an issue. And particularly, I think important is figuring out how to get access to the networks of power. And I don't think that there's I think I have been fortunate in that because I have excelled at my job from day one, I have had people who kind of pull me along. But if I hadn't, and pull me into those networks, right? Pull me into this group, that activity, and that's kind of boosted me up. But if it had been left to me, I think I would be a practicing psychologist seeing patients every day, which is very great, but it's not a leadership position. So I think there are some barriers with gender. I know the very clearly situations where I hear that all of the kind of male officer leaders were going out together and doing social things together, and clearly I wasn't one of them and was excluded, and those kinds of things put up barriers. I feel like I'm kind of rambling.
No,
this is.
But
it makes sense.
very interesting.
But I think that my definition of who is a leader was shaped by my early years in the military. And who were the leaders? It was mostly the white males, and because I didn't necessarily see then myself as someone who would be a leader in this setting, and I think many female officers kind of experience the same thing, that there's not a lot of necessarily as much encouragement and kind of push to develop the leaderships or pulling into networks as they could be. And I feel like I'm fortunate that I had folks who did that for me.
Great.
As the male representative at the table,
Yes.
apparently, can I just say, I think this is a real issue.
Yeah.
And it's a real issue for people of minorities that are visible in their characteristics, gender or any minority. It's not necessarily an issue for LGBT people, not always. I came of age at a time when a lot of lesbian and gay personnel were in the Foreign Service but not visible. And you kind of knew in some cases, and you definitely knew in others because there would be a sharing, but a lot of people did not say anything. And it may be because times have changed and everything, but also it may be because people were looking at the models and trying to figure out, will I be accepted? Because it's clearly white male, white male, white male, white male, white male, white female. Would I be accepted if I came out? And it'll be interesting to see 5 years from now have the same conversation, because 5 years from now there already are so many more people who are openly gay. I mean, I was the first openly gay Senate confirmed career ambassador, but I know other career ambassadors who were confirmed who were not openly gay but were gay. So it'd be interesting as people look around and sort of feel, is it safe for me to present myself in the way that I want to be presented, that I want to live my life? Will I face the same issues that women have faced? Because I could be part of the white male club that you're talking about, going out for drinks or whatever, and I was. I went out for drinks with the office setting, and I remember hearing conversations about when, the new front office is being established for this particular bureau. They have to find a female. Who are we going to get who's female? I mean, it was because there had to be the